Yada yada does. Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite animes, and today, um, I'm going to finish off the second half of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 3 Stardust Crusaders review. If you haven't seen my review for the first half, go check it out. Basically, to recap, Jonathan Joestar was a good rich guy from the UK, and Dio was a bad guy trying to be rich and take over the world after he became a super strong immortal vampire. So to defeat Dio, Jonathan learned Hamon, which is basically magic controlled by blood control and breathing. And that's basically part 1, Phantom Blood. And for part 2, Battle Tendency, we have Jonathan's grandson, Joseph, who lived in New York, and he had the mission to defeat the 4 pillar men who are also super strong immortal vampires who wanted to take over the world. Joseph went to Mexico and Italy and Switzerland for all that. And then we have part 3, Stardust Crusaders. Dio is alive, apparently, and his presence is causing harm to Joseph's daughter, Holly. So Joseph and Joseph's grandson, Jotaro, Jotaro Kujo, and Kyakoyin, and Polnareff and Abdul teamed up and headed over to Egypt where Dio stayed. And for the first 24 episodes, it's basically them traveling to Egypt via places like Hong Kong, Singapore, India, Pakistan, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. And on the way, they encountered and defeated 16 stand users who are working for Dio. There are things I love about the second half of the Stardust Crusaders to start off. All the stands that the Crusaders are facing are basically Egyptian gods. Well, most of them. So that alone is a very cool idea. But I have to admit, the OP and the EDs still aren't that great in my opinion. Now, originally, when I wrote this script, I said that the OP is the worst one I've seen so far, but honestly, this OP had grown on me. The OP is called Sonochi no Kyoku, which means the memory of a bloodline, or people also refer this OP as the end of the world. And the way it starts off, it sounds like a melodramatic opera, and then it just becomes a very fast-paced metal song. But actually, I like this way more than that of the last one, Stand Proud. I think this OP is not as good as Bloody Stream, of course, not as good as Sonachi no Sadame. That one was the top tier, okay? But the animation, and the music is very intense, it's very urgent, and if the scene before the OP, the teaser, is funny and comedic, then this OP just doesn't work. But if the scene before that is very intense and anxious, then it truly works. It really works. And I also really like the clocks and the cog wheels. It's so many spoilers in the OP. It's insane. And then we have the ED, and the ED is probably the worst one I have seen so far. It's basically this strange, numbing lo-fi piece, and it's called Last Train Home, and it's supposed to be sad, and I get it, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, again, if the episode ends off on a comedic scene or a scene that's super interesting or intense, it just doesn't work. I really just prefer Roundabout or that other song, Walk Like an Egyptian. But basically, that's my thoughts on the OP and the ED. Over to episodes 1 and 2. We are introduced to a famous JoJo character, and that is Iggy the dog. But he's also a stand user, and the stand is the Fool. Yes. And on these 2 episodes, the team also encountered Endul with the stand Geb, which is the god of earth, apparently. And it's basically a puddle of water that can kill, controlled by a blind guy who only sees by sound. It's a really cool concept, but the episodes are just decent overall. Nothing all that exciting and refreshing. It's a bit forgettable too. But then we have episodes 3, where Oingo and Boingo, named after Oingo Boingo, of course, 2 brothers represented by the Hunum and Thoth, gods of creation and knowledge, I think. And oh my gosh, they are trash. They are so terrible at their jobs to assassinate the Crusaders. The Crusaders didn't even know they existed. Boingo would read a comic book, and in the book he would see the future, but every time the prediction is right, but Oingo still messes up somehow and fail. And it's a hilarious episode. It even has a special ED, and that's really cool. Episodes 4 and 5 are also really great. The team is up against Anubis, the god of death, which is bound to be interesting, right? The stand is basically a sword, a katana that can control anyone who wields it and make that person a killer. I like how Polnareff got controlled by it at the end. Minor spoiler alert, I know. And Jotaro had to find a way to destroy the sword without killing Polnareff. The episode also has a funny ending, so there's that. For episodes 6 and 7, we have Bastet, the goddess of protection, used by a hot girl called Mariah. And these two episodes are two of the most funniest fucking episodes of JoJo I've ever seen. Many comedy TV shows don't even beat how funny these two episodes are. Joseph basically touched this random electric socket and he turned into a human magnet, and metallic things started to fly at him. He was stuck on a moving escalator because of that, and he was so close to getting ground up by the escalator until not Avdol, some people on the internet says Avdol, which is weird. Like, why would Araki name someone Avdol when there is such a common name called Abdul? It doesn't make any sense. But until Abdul pressed the stop button and became another human magnet. So for the rest of these two episodes, Joseph and Abdul were stuck together when they tried to separate themselves in the public. They looked like they were having sex. And when this random old woman saw them, he started to beat Joseph with her umbrella, and Joseph screamed, "Oh God, help me!" And I've never heard an anime voice actor scream in such authentic agony before. Rest in peace, the voice actor. Such a legend. The ending is also really smart, but ridiculous. I'm glad Joseph got the spotlight as well. Oh my God! For episodes 8 and 9, we got Alessi with the stand of Set, god of storms and violence, while Joseph and Abdul were fighting Mariah, Jotaro and Polnareff were fighting Alessi. His stand is pretty creative and unique, basically a shadow that touches its opponent's shadow, and if their shadows touch, the opponent's age will decrease depending on how long have they touched the shadow. And these two episodes are pretty entertaining overall. We have funny bits, we have smart moments. Polnareff pulled off a smart trick, which he learned from the Sun episode, which is really cool. But I guess I just wish that the one who defeats Alessi is Polnareff and not Jotaro. Again, Jotaro is a little bit too overpowered, in my opinion. But I think the next two episodes are the best of the entire part 3 so far. For the entire 40 minutes of runtime, it's mostly psychological warfare. No punching, no kicking, well, almost, but not really, no action. And it's easily the most intense and suspenseful anime fights I've seen in part 3, or perhaps even in the whole series so far. These two episodes are fucking amazing. Darby the gambler basically gambles. His stand basically doesn't do anything but sucks the souls out of people's bodies and keep them separated and turn them into chips. If anyone loses a gamble to Darby, Darby can take their soul away, essentially. So we have 40 minutes of pure anime psychological warfare. You can see all the characters just panting in nervousness when they raise a stack of chips or deal a card. I'm just not completely satisfied with the ending of the two episodes because the guy who defeated Darby is, of course, Jotaro. But still, I'm not upset about the ending at all. I still think Jotaro would be the right guy to defeat Darby, and I love these episodes really, really, really much. Go ahead, Mr. Joster. Then, of course, after two intense episodes, we have two funny episodes, Whole Horse and Boingo. One of the dumbest enemies and one of the lamest enemies collaborated for a total friggin' shit show. I love that every time Boingo finishes a sentence, he says, "Hi, 100%. Hey, and I also love how every time Boingo makes a prediction and Whole Horse follows it, I'm just extremely curious on how will Boingo's prediction come true and Whole Horse still failing it. Very clever indeed. The following is a legendary chapter where the entire 2 episodes is basically Iggy the dog fighting Pet Shop the falcon with the stand called Horus, which is basically god of heaven. And wow, I didn't expect the fight to come this close. I didn't expect that there would be a voice-over for Iggy, which is really cool, and I definitely didn't expect the friggin' bird to be this scary. There was a jump scare and it almost gave me a heart attack. The ending got me extremely worried, but all is well because the next 9 episodes are golden. They arrived at Dio's mansion finally, but they still have 2 stand enemies to fight, and you can tell they're extremely powerful. Actually, way more than 2 stand enemies. First off, we have young Darby, basically the younger brother of Darby the gambler, Darby the player. He invited 3 of the Crusaders, including Jotaro and Joseph, to play video games with him. Not gonna spoil who's the third one because I'm not gonna spoil. And to my surprise, the whole battle spanned over 2 episodes, actually 2.5, and every fight between Darby and the Crusaders lasted for a long time. And judging by the order of the Crusaders who play the games, you already know that it's going to be Joseph Joestar who's defeating him. Fuck yes, my favorite JoJo, hell yeah. But the last 2 big stand enemies of the season and the part is Vanilla Ice and of course Dio, and holy shit. This is the most dramatic and messed up and one of the most emotional chapter in the entire story. I almost teared up. Vanilla Ice is probably the most powerful stand enemy I've seen so far, and before he went to fight, Dio tested him and said, "If you are truly loyal, please give me your blood." He decapitated his head without question. Dio revived him with his own blood. Now he's both proven to be extremely loyal and powerful, and an immortal vampire. His stand is cream. Yes, Vanilla Ice cream. And he can vanish in thin air and turn into a black hole, a void, and can destroy anything on the way. Honestly, he caused more damage than any other stand enemy on the show so far. I think Araki was being really generous on causing damage. Watching this episode is like watching a war film with lovable characters but realistic. Fuck. This is crazy, and I'm giving a spoiler alert. So, have you skipped yet? If you haven't, this means you've seen the episode. Right off the bat, Iggy found Kenny G and defeated him. Yes, Kenny G. But then Abdul saw a little writing on the wall saying, "When you turn around, you'll die." So boom, that's it. Abdul turned and died. That's a shocking scene. It came so quick, it's so immediate, and it's so realistic because that's how death works. It just happens. But little do I know, 2 main characters will die in one fight, and the next one is rather emotional and deep. Again, Vanilla Ice caused a lot of damage. He chopped off a bit of Polnareff's foot, 2 of his fingers, and then put a giant chunk, and then took a giant chunk of his leg, leaving him crippled throughout the entire duration of the fight. He also kicked Iggy and punctured its lungs, and at the end, Vanilla Ice turned into a ball of void, closing in on Polnareff, and he was about to accept his fate, only to have Iggy die, saving his life. This is actually beautiful because in the start of the season, Polnareff and Iggy hate each other, but later on the series, Iggy actually died saving Polnareff, and it's the most impactful death of the series. Period. So finally, at the end, the last 4 episodes, and that is Dio's World and the finale. And goddamn, what a great finale. It's basically all the previous battles combined into one big, epic, grand ending with lots of twists and turns, tragic moments, hand-to-hand combat, developments, outsmarting, suspenseful moments, and triumphant moments as well. Just on the first part, we have an intense car chase, a tragic ending, and they're still trying to figure out what's Dio's stand. And on the second part, they finally figured out what it does, and there are some really close calls, another devastating surprise. The third part is pretty much an entire episode of fights with different parts, and the fourth part is a sweet and powerful ending. I'm getting into spoiler territory, so here we go. I forgot to mention that the entire fight took place in the city of Cairo, which is awesome. It's really cool. But spoiler alert once again. So first off, they wanted to do what's called a pincer attack, where 2 attack at the front and 2 attack at the back. And Kyakoin and Joseph on the front, and Dio managed to catch up with the car. So Kyakoin created a barrier with his Hierophant green, and suddenly, bam! Dio disappeared, his barrier broke, and he had a hole in his chest, and he just died that way. But before Kyakoin died, he finally figured out Dio's stand power and tried to send Joseph a message by shooting the clock tower so that Joseph would know that Dio can stop time. Damn. What a powerful stand. Then Joseph ran away from Dio and tried to outsmart him by protecting himself with Hamon and Hermit Purple. It didn't work, and Dio stopped time and stabbed Joseph, and he basically died. Damn. And then Jotaro is revealed to have a similar stand as well, and now Jotaro can also move when time is stopped, but only for an instant. He's a fast learner though. At the end he could move for around 3 seconds, while Dio at 10. There's a friggin' suspenseful scene where Jotaro had to play dead and stop his heart from beating, and then we have the road roller scene, Roda Roda! And it's crazy. like Jotaro was on this bridge, and Dio suddenly disappeared. And suddenly this gigantic car just came down from the sky. That's an epic moment. But just before Jotaro would be crushed by the road roller at the 9th second of the time stop, he himself stopped time and had an extra 3 seconds, so Dio couldn't move, and the extra 2 seconds where Star Platinum basically shattered him. We also get an awesome scene where Joseph gets revived and trolled Jotaro, which is really funny. It's like the first thing he thought about after his brain started to function again is, oh, you know what? You know what would this be a good time for? A joke. And the goodbye scene at the airport is sad, so there's that. So overall, I love Stardust Crusaders a lot. It's a way more fun and memorable and adventurous experience than the 2 previous parts. I guess I still like battle tendencies slightly more because the entire part has no duds, 0 fillers, while part 3 has a few not so memorable episodes. I guess another thing that I dislike about part 3 is that Jotaro's stand. It's just so overpowered. Star Platinum, it's too overpowered. It punches really fast. It's really fast. It's super precise and observative. And if you have watched the last episode, you know what's up. But there are way more good things about Stardust Crusaders than there are bad things. The introduction of the concept of stands is really interesting and unique. The fashion styles are even better. I like how at the end, Dio had lipsticks on and his hair became Ziggy Stardust. It's really awesome. I love how fashionable old Japanese school uniforms are. I also like that Araki gave Kyakoin an eye injury so that he would wear shades. Joseph Joestar is still my favorite JoJo, but Jotaro has grown on me a lot though. Part 3 is also extremely funny at times. The Oingo and Boingo and the whole horse episodes are hilarious. The Bastet episode was the funniest of all. The villains in part 3 are also way scarier and villainous. We have the Hanged Man, Justice, Death 13, Alessi, Pet Shop, the Darby Brothers, Vanilla Ice, and of course, Dio. And also before I end off this review, I'm gonna show you the stats. Who is defeated by whom, and on which few episodes. So here are all the stand enemies, and you can see that Jotaro has the lead. I mean, he is the lead, but not much on Abdul and Joseph's part, unfortunately. But still, I'm looking forward to part 4. Diamond is unbreakable. And for now, my favorite episode is, of course, the finale episodes, and my least favorite of the second half would be the end duel episodes, but overall, it has to be the Sun episode. I'm giving JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 3 Stardust Crusaders Egypt-Hen a strong 8 to a light 9. And to average out, the entire Stardust Crusaders would be around a decent 8. So, have you watched Stardust Crusaders, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 3? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, hate if you hate it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.